Madam President, I want to rise in support of what my distinguished colleague from New Hampshire is trying to accomplish here, which is simply to give the Oil Spill Commission the subpoena power it needs to bring those before it who might be reticent to come forth and to be able to do its job. Now, what we see here on the floor, what we've seen in just the last few minutes, is a whole process in which I hope the American people understand that this is a clear contrast between who stands on your side and who stands on the side of special interests. How is it possible that members of this chamber find it difficult when the House of Representatives, in a near unanimous vote, could say that the subpoena powers necessary for the commission to be able to get to the bottom of what happened could pass unanimously there, save for one vote, and yet cannot even proceed here? Cannot even proceed here. This isn't rocket science. It's common sense to most Americans. We need to fully learn the lessons of this disaster with a thorough investigation, not protect oil companies from having their negligence exposed. We need to get answers from BP and Transocean and Halliburton and everyone else, including the federal agencies, not give apologies to them, as I have seen Republicans suggest that we should apologize to BP for making sure that the residents of the Gulf region are held whole. We need to know the truth, and the commission needs subpoena power to get the truth. So who are you protecting? And what are we hiding here? In addition to withholding information and blocking data collection, BP has seemingly misrepresented the magnitude of the spill. And we need the truth. And let's just go through a little bit of remembering, this is a very short period of time, how this Congress and the American people were deceived. That's why you need subpoena power, to get to the truth, bring people under oath. We were told after the Deepwater Horizon burst into flames and then sunk into the ocean floor, there was no spill. Anybody remember that? Can you believe it? The next day, they estimated that an absurdly low flow rate of 1,000 barrels per day was taking place. And then on May 20th, BP said they were siphoning off 5,000 barrels of oil a day from what they claimed was a 5,000 barrel a day spill, meaning that they were capturing all of it. Can you believe it? Then video feed released under pressure from Congress on May 21st showed a very different story, with a heavy flow of oil still spilling from the well. In response, only after that pressure and that video feed could be measured, the company adjusted their siphon estimate down from 5,000 to 2,200 barrels a day to explain why oil was still flowing. We now know that what the video actually showed was a much, much heavier flow rate. Only recently have experts begun to have access to some of the data they need to make more credible estimates. On June 15th, the federal government officially estimated that the flow may be as high as 60,000 barrels a day, which means that an estimated 3 million barrels have been spilled so far. 3 million barrels. That would amount to more than 13 Exxon Valdez spills that took place in Alaska. The point of all of this is that we need the truth. That's what Senator Shaheen's trying to accomplish. Have the subpoena power for the commission so that they can bring all the parties they need to make sure we get to the truth. We need someone to swear under oath that they are telling us, in fact, the truth about what happened and how much oil is spilling every day into the Gulf. And common sense and good judgment demands that we pass the legislation and move quickly to get to that truth. I can't understand when I hear so many of my colleagues talk about truth and honesty and transparency that you can oppose the very effort to give the subpoena powers that gets us there. It's a sad day. Now, while I have the floor, let me briefly, Madam President, say something good did happen today as it relates to this process, and that is I want to thank Senator Boxer, the chair of the Environment and Public Works Committee, Senator Lautenberg, and the very supportive members of that committee for passing my big oil bailout prevention bill out of the committee today so we can get an up or down vote on the floor to hold big oil fully liable for the economic and environmental damage they cause. Frankly, it's time we have a vote after so many Republican objections to this common sense legislation. The bill that the committee passed is simple and common sense. It asserts that we want to protect those families, those taxpayers, and all of us as taxpayers, not oil company profits. It asserts that oil companies should bear the burden of the economic damages that their spill causes, not taxpayers. As we see the images and read the stories from the Gulf Coast night after night, it could not be clearer that coastal families and taxpayers are the ones who need protection, not oil companies. With action like this one of the committee today, we have a lot of momentum going right now. I think the American people have shown clearly they want oil companies held fully accountable, and we are working to do just that, and I think we are developing a head of steam. It seems like the only people who consistently work to protect oil companies instead of coastal families right now are the oil companies themselves and some colleagues who seem to, no matter what, oppose, either having subpoena powers to get to the truth or lifting the liability cap so that the oil industry will be responsible. 4 times, my Republican colleagues have blocked the Big Oil Prevention Act from passing quickly by unanimous consent here on the Senate floor, even though there is a fierce urgency of now. All but one in the committee today voted in favor of the poison pill amendment that would have gutted the bill. And they have blocked, as I said, my colleague from New Hampshire's attempts on the floor to give the commission all the tools necessary to do a full investigation. So I say to them, if they continue to stand in the way of our efforts to hold oil companies fully accountable, they're going to get run over by public opinion. And so I hope that now that the committee has acted, that we can use this as an opportunity to finally hold big oil accountable. And in doing so, to send a message to the industry that you're going to have to be extremely careful, that you cannot cut the corners, that you can't go cheap as you drill, to the extent that we're going to allow drilling to take place, so that we don't have the environmental disaster we have in the Gulf today, so that we don't lose, by the way, 11 lives like we lost on that day on that rig, so that we don't have a generation facing environmental degradation. That's what's at stake here. That's what's at stake here. And it is incomprehensible to me that we cannot get our colleagues on the other side of the aisle to join us in this effort. With that, Madam President, I yield the floor.